Hello, and welcome to Get Well Soon, the show where students just like you learn and discuss about how to take care of yourself while pursuing your academic and personal goals. Today, we're joined by Sarah, a fellow student from our school. And we're going to be talking about patience and why it is essential in your daily life in order to reach your goals. So, what is patience exactly? Patience is defined as the capacity to accept or tolerate, delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. Can you think of so for you guys right here, can you think of some situations that make you impatient?
Biggest situations, I'm trying to be a patient person because I'm not someone who minds waiting, but if I'm the biggest one is when you're in the car, you're waiting to leave, and people just aren't coming, or if you're at a party, tired, ready to go home, and your parents still talking to your relatives. I'm sure that's happened to all of you before.
Yeah.
Just can't say goodbye.
Long-term examples of impatience would be making friends, working out, gaining muscle mass, and other daily things. So learning how to drive, for example, can be impatient.
I think learning a new skill in general that you may not have any familiarity with could lead to impatience, because at the end of the day, you're looking at the results. I want to just get, if I'm learning an instrument, for example, like piano, I want to learn it piano and just be able to play it instantly, but it will take maybe even months and months and months, or just weeks to get it, even the basics down. So just to start off, it's very difficult.
Yeah, I do feel like learning a skill is something that's hard to be patient about. I feel like, for me, what a solution was for learning how to do things, you just have to enjoy what you're doing. If you enjoy what you're doing, then, you're not going to give up just because, you're having a little delay in the thing because you're enjoying doing it. It's a hobby. It's something that stress relieves, so you're going to keep at it. That's kind of what I feel about fitness. For me, the biggest problem with me is gaining muscle. Gaining muscle is something I have struggled with for over a year, to the point where I was trying to force myself to eat much more food than I knew I could handle. And I feel like that was a big issue for me, because that would make me mad, because I would do all this work, making all these protein shakes, making all these meals, shoving it all down my throat, trying to eat all this stuff to get that muscle mass, to get that gain, to get that weight. And once I, threw up, it was again, it keeps happening. It's all for nothing. But once you learn that as time goes on, and if you even make the little progression, it's better than losing it all, trying to force yourself to do something that you're not able to do.
So if you kind of like spiral out of control and kind of fall off everything, all those gains, all the work that you've done so far is going to be lost, what you're saying?
Yes, that's precisely what I'm saying,
So, what are some things that in your life that require patience, but you would say is worth the effort?
Patience, it's something I feel a lot of people, especially our age, deal with, that requires patience, is if you were in a past relationship and stuff ended up happening in that relationship and you're heartbroken, I feel like you can't just jump into new things. You need to wait. I feel like a lot of people in our age, once they break up with somebody or something happens, they just jump onto the new person, and they keep doing that, and it keeps damaging them mentally. I feel like we need to be able to spend our time by ourselves, grow accustomed to being by ourselves. We can't just hop into new things, or we're just going to damage ourselves and become more reliant on another person.
Another aspect of life that also requires patience but's worth the effort. Maybe you're working as a group in a team project, whether it's for a job, for school, and it's very annoying when some person doesn't really do their part, when it comes to maybe if you're doing a group presentation, maybe one person, you do your slides, but another person, they don't really get it done on time, and then you maybe have to pick up the slack for them. So that can also lead to impatience too, and frustration.
I I see. So you're like saying like allowing yourself some time to heal, that requires patience, right?
Yes, definitely.
And then Kefe is saying another example is dealing with people, being patient about them, and
Yeah.
yeah. So with you, I kind of say like, or in that situation, like you have to kind of be patient so that you can kind of make sure your communication is working clearly and everything gets across. Because if you get upset and you kind of start arguing, that's only going to create more discord, more problems between everyone, right? Yeah. What do you think, Alex?
In my life specifically, music requires a lot of patience. Singing requires patience. Like I was talking with you the other day, production requires patience. So not just specific things, life in general is a patient game. So some things will happen in due time, others you have to work for it.
So with those things that you mentioned, those skills, they're going to require patience to develop, right? You're not going to be good at singing in one day. Your throat needs to get stronger, those muscles, all those things. And even with like learning something, as we kind of mentioned earlier, with like skills, right? Like there's a lot of stuff to learn. Your brain needs time for that, and you can't always expect things are going to happen so soon, right? So that's why it's good to have patience. All right, so how do you guys think social media or instant gratification affects our patience?
I feel like as we get more, used to having people respond to us like that immediately, like being able to have contact with anyone we want at the blink of an eye, I feel like it makes us more, we want that in reality, like we want people to come to us, we want this gratification immediately, stuff like that. It makes you more bored to do things that you need to do, homework, schoolwork, going to a job, stuff like that. So I feel like that's one thing social media does affect, like that instant gratification, that stimulation.
Yeah, so you mentioned two things. You were kind of talking about the idea of like always having people to talk to.
Yes.
So with that, I'm thinking like when you always kind of expect those instant messages, I imagine it can kind of lead to like you're kind of feeling lonely a lot. I would say like, yeah, I kind of feel like that. I feel like a lot of us kind of don't really like to kind of be alone, I guess, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's, a skill that we should all kind of have, being alone. Because a lot of the things that we do in this world, we're going to have to be alone.
Yeah, and there's one person that's going to stick with you for your whole life, and that's you.
Yeah, so take care of yourself, right?
You can't get rid of yourself. So you gotta learn to be with yourself and own yourself at one point. Because you can't rely on other people too much. Once you rely on people, if you're emotionally dependent on someone, then that could lead to a world of problems, in my opinion. If you ever feel that, if you feel that you're getting emotionally dependent on someone, take a break from them. Tell them, if they actually care about you, they'll understand that you need to be able to have, like, your own time, to be able to be okay with being by yourself. I found, like, the gym was a good way for me to, I don't really work out with people. I just go there by myself, put some music on, I do my own thing. I'm there for hours by myself, and it's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, usually when I'm working out, I also like to be alone too. Like, I would just put on my earbuds, listen to the music I like, and just do my workouts. Like, it's enjoyable to me as well. And I feel like that also when it comes to instant gratification, like, maybe, for example, I think we've all felt this, had this experience. Like, maybe you're doing your homework and you really want to finish it, or you want to check that Instagram post or that new YouTube video from your favorite channel, and you get that notification and you're just right on it, and then before you know it, you're on for like 1 to 3 hours just wasting time.
Yeah,
and then
that
by
flashing light.
Yeah, exactly.
Phone, I gotta check that flashing light.
And then by the time before you know it, like, the night is over. It's like 10 o'clock and you haven't gotten anything done. So
yeah, I agree. I feel like once we become accustomed to getting that notification that we're looking for, and this is also another issue. Once you get accustomed to that instant gratification, then once that stops happening, you're constantly checking your phone, constantly trying to talk to people, trying to get that same thing that you're looking for. I feel like if I'm talking to somebody and they're not texting me back, I'll start talking to another person. And another person, if the people aren't texting me back, I'm just going to see, at that point I'm relying on someone else. Like, I can't be by myself at that point, and I feel like that's an issue. Because you don't get anything done if you're just trying to get someone to talk to for no reason, just because you're bored.
I guess it's kind of important to cultivate patience, in which, like, I would say something like doing your homework is not as stimulating as being on your phone scrolling, right? So the patience in that situation would be like, as it says, what patience, the capacity to tolerate trouble or suffering, right? So homework is like suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like something that's not as stimulating, you
Yeah.
know, there's something more enjoyable. You gotta deal with what's currently at hand, so you can get your homework done, right? You gotta be able to kind of endure that and build that patience. So we're gonna go into that, how we can become more patient in a second. But I have another kind of question before that, and it is, why is patience an important skill in conversation? And I'm kind of thinking about listening here, like listening to other people. So why is patience an important skill in conversation?
Well, I feel like patience within a conversation is an important skill because I feel like when you're listening to somebody, you're taking that in and you can potentially neglect it, or you could learn from it and then maybe you can ask a follow-up question and then build the conversation. Especially in one-on-one conversations, I feel like patience is extremely important since you want to also listen to the other person's perspective. Maybe even if you don't agree, like maybe you can ask, maybe like, why do they believe this? Why do you go by this perspective? So stuff like that.
So like there's things that you may really want to say, but like you have to kind of
Exactly.
listen to them.
Yeah.
And also, I guess, as you also said, kind of taking the time to understand another person's point of view.
Yeah, I feel like every experience just adds to people's knowledge. So when you listen to other people's perspectives, you're taking a bit from that knowledge that they experienced firsthand, and you're using it for your, your own knowledge.
All right, so I have a quote here, and it's called, "Time heals all wounds." Time heals all wounds. Now, you probably heard this before, but what do you guys think about this quote? Alex, why don't you start? What do you think about that quote?
I think in a generalization, I think time, it heals everything, but certain things like love, hate, some things can heal, some things can't. So it's a very broad thing to say that time heals all wounds, but certain detrimental things can't heal it. But when it patience sometimes can. So I know I'm going all over the place with this, but I feel it's just very general.
I have to agree with the quote, to be honest with you. I feel like just taking time, and people will say, I've taken this much time, I've taken, and still nothing's happening. Take more, because as you do more, I feel like time's probably the best medicine for mental wounds, stuff that's happened to you that's affected you mentally. As you move on and you get more perspective, obviously I feel a lot of mental problems we can't deal with on our own. Personally, I always have somebody to talk to when I'm having an issue, and I want to hear their take on what they've experienced. Someone who's been through something that I'm going through, even if it's related like that. It doesn't have to be exact same, but just hearing other people's sides and how they dealt with it, and just adding that to my own life. Like, I remember I've been told for one issue I need to meditate, or self-discipline, stuff like that. I need to take time to myself. And it's okay to think about certain things that you don't want to be thinking about. If you know what I mean. Like, it's okay to get a little lost in the past, but at the time you still gotta keep pushing forward, and more time will heal.
I agree with that. And I also agree with Alex in a way because I feel like time can also be wasted too. So it depends on how you use your time. It's more about the content rather than the actual time itself, because one can be given unlimited time but waste it all. And when it comes to wasting time, that can also be subjective too. So maybe something that I like, well, even something that you like, you can also waste time with, like video games, social media, of course, stuff that gives us instant gratification. So something that's important to us, that could be a waste of time to others because they don't find importance in that.
Yeah. So I think like a good way to kind of think about this quote is like that time equals opportunity. So as Alex said, time is not going to heal everything because like time is not a healer itself, right? It's like I, when I say time equals opportunity, it's like opportunity to do certain things. So like Sarah was saying, like you got to take more time with some things. That means like there's more time to like exercise, more time to let your body get stronger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that. So time equals opportunity. And then as Kefe was saying, you can actually waste that time because time is an opportunity, right? So you
Yeah.
can take the opportunity to do something that's going to help you, or you can take that opportunity to do something that's going to work against you.
Yeah, I feel like basically time is a double-edged sword depending on how you use it. Yeah.
So that with patience, like there's more than just waiting around for something. There's also like the actions you take. So it's finding a balance,
Yeah.
right, between having that patience to let something like grow or mature, like your skill or something, and then also the action you take. That's also important. So knowing all that, how do you guys think that one can become more patient in life?
There's multiple things. Honestly, but it helps me, like, just being used to being bored. I feel like that's something. Just being used to being bored, and once you have, like, that littlest thing, like, me, I'll get bored if I'm sitting in a room doing nothing for a long time. But if I have music, I'll be fine. So if I'm used to, like, just having that little bit more to that, I'm fine. Like, just adding that little bit of spice, which is, music. It helps me. Like, I usually sit for like an hour at one point at the Y because I didn't have a ride just outside, which I was fine with because, I got to look at the trees. I got to look at nature, Think to myself. I feel like getting used to that type of thing just helps you be, more patient,
It's like making the ride a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Makes you more content in that moment.
Yeah, like learning to appreciate your surroundings is another thing as well. If you're like out, like especially like I said when I was outside, learn to appreciate like, oh my god, even when I'm in downtown Albro, which is just a bunch of buildings. Like I just like to think, like, who built these buildings? How long did it take? Like, just the background of everything I'm looking at.
What do you think, Alex?
For me personally, as a Buddhist, I would say meditation does help you practice patience. Also, being lonely, like was said earlier. I would say I'm lonely most of the time, so that's a way to be patient with yourself.
The journey, there's going to be moments where it's going to be painful, it's going to be stressful, but I feel like this happened to me this track season, like when I was like stressed out about like getting last in like my first race. It was the mile, and I was thinking to myself, like, I know I could have done better. Like, I felt like I didn't put my best out there, and then in the following weeks I felt like I put more time into the practices to like really like improve my times and like improve my endurance. I feel like I saw that improvement in my performance, and instead of focusing on the actual race or the end result, like focus on the journey there.
So you got that first loss and you felt bad.
Yeah.
Then you realized if I take the time to go to my practice and put in the work, then eventually I know I'm gonna get better. That's kind of the mentality you took. Yeah. So that would be kind of like thinking long term. When you think kind of like short term, when you don't get what you want, you get upset. But if you can be patient and understand that improvement is going to take time, and that's really going to help. So with the final question, I'd like to ask you guys, we have about 3 months till next school year starts, right? We got the last month of school, and we got 2 months of summer, right? So what kind of things do you guys want to be patient for this summer? Like, what kind of things are you guys going to work over a long period of time?
Making gains, like physical gains, probably. I'm definitely going to the gym a lot over the summer, and I'm going to try to be patient for any type of, like I said, instant gratification, like any type of interaction. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. I'm not going to try to force myself into doing things. I'm just going to let them come to me. If I want to do it, then I'll do it. Type thing.
For me, this summer, I'm probably going to, well, when it comes to patience, like, I feel like it's, for college, I feel like I want to get out, and it's just one more year, so it's coming up really quickly, so I feel like that's something I need to work on as well, like, just going to college tours a lot over the summer, I feel like will help, and just talking to, like, my relatives as well who went to college that I'm looking to go to, UMass Dartmouth. And also I'm going to go to the track and practice my endurance as well as my core and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then for me, I think this summer, I'm going to keep on working on this podcast. I think, we've kind of started off with episodes kind of being sparse here and there, but we're slowly kind of getting more consistent with it, and I hope that over time, with patience and with effort, that we can kind of grow this podcast into something really, really beautiful. So for everyone watching or listening, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you learned something about patience and how you can kind of apply it to your own life. And thank you for watching and listening. And we hope you get well soon. Thank you.